Elara lived on a street that was very neat, very tidy, and very quiet. It was the kind of street where people washed their cars on Sunday mornings and cut their grass every Saturday afternoon. Elara liked this. She was a librarian, and she liked things to be organized and predictable. Every house on the street was perfect, except one. Next door to Elara stood the old Blackwood house. It had been empty for 5 years. The garden was wild. Tall green bushes hid the windows, and an enormous messy hedge grew around the front, almost blocking the front door. It looked like a jungle in the middle of a tidy town. One Tuesday in November, a large white moving truck arrived. It stopped in front of the overgrown hedge. A man stepped out. He was tall and thin, wearing a long gray raincoat and an old hat pulled down low over his eyes. He did not look at the neighbors who were watching from behind their curtains. He just started carrying boxes into the house. There were so many boxes. Some were small and heavy. Others were huge and required 2 men to carry them. For 3 days, the boxes arrived. And then, the truck left, the door closed, and the street became quiet again. The new neighbor's name, according to a small label on a letter delivered by mistake to Elara's house, was Mr. Arthur Pendelton. Nobody saw Mr. Pendelton. He did not come out to cut the grass. He did not wash a car. He did not go to the local shop for milk. The only sign of life was a dim yellow light that burned in a specific upstairs window late into the night, every single night. Soon, the gossip started on the quiet street. "He must be hiding something," Mrs. Gable across the road whispered to Elara when they met near the mailboxes. "Why else would he keep that awful hedge so tall? You cannot see anything inside." "And the noises," added Mr. Henderson, who lived 2 doors down. "Have you heard them, Elara? Late at night. Tapping. Scraping. Like he is digging something." Elara had heard the noises. Sometimes, when she was reading in bed at midnight, she heard a soft tap-tap-tap coming through the wall she shared with his house. It didn't sound scary to her. It sounded busy. It sounded rhythmic, almost like music. Elara was curious. She was a librarian. Her job was to find answers. One Saturday, she baked an apple cake. She walked to his front gate and pushed her way through the thick, messy hedge. She knocked on the old wooden door. She waited. She knocked again. Nothing. She was about to leave when she noticed something near her foot. It was a small piece of wood, no bigger than her thumb. It was carved incredibly delicately. It looked exactly like a tiny, perfect armchair, but it was smaller than a matchbox. It was beautiful. Elara picked it up and put it in her pocket. She left the cake on the doorstep and went home. 2 weeks passed. The weather turned cold and stormy. One night, the wind was incredibly strong. It howled around the houses. In the morning, Elara looked out her window and gasped. The giant, messy hedge around Mr. Pendelton's house had fallen over in the storm. The front of the house was suddenly visible. It looked naked and surprised. And the front door was wide open, banging in the wind. Elara worried that something was wrong. She put on her coat and walked over. "Mr. Pendelton," she called out, stepping into the hallway. "Hello. Is everything okay?" The hallway was dusty and full of unopened cardboard boxes. The house felt cold. She followed the sound of the banging door to the back of the house, into a large room that used to be the dining room. Elara stopped and stared. Her mouth fell open. The room was not a dining room anymore. It was a world. On 3 enormous tables that filled the entire space, there was a miniature city. It was incredibly detailed. There were tiny Victorian houses with lights glowing in the windows. There were miniature trees with individual leaves made of paper. There was a river made of shiny blue resin, with tiny boats floating on it. There were little street lamps and carriages and people smaller than her fingernail, dressed in old-fashioned clothes. It was magical. It was the most beautiful thing Elara had ever seen. In the corner of the room, sitting at a messy workbench under a bright lamp, sat Mr. Pendelton. He held a pair of tweezers and a magnifying glass. He was carefully gluing a tiny chimney onto a tiny roof. He looked up, surprised to see Elara standing there. He took off his glasses. His eyes were kind, but tired. "Oh," he said quietly. "The wind must have blown the door open. I didn't notice. I was working." Elara walked towards the table, her eyes wide. "This is amazing," she whispered. "Did you make all of this?" Mr. Pendelton nodded shyly. "Yes. It's my job. I build miniature sets for movies. Stop-motion animation films. They need entire worlds built in miniature, so they can film them frame by frame. It takes a lot of concentration. That is why I like the tall hedge. It helps me focus." Elara looked around. The tapping noises at night. The hundreds of boxes. The dim light upstairs. It all made sense now. He wasn't digging tunnels or hiding secrets. He was creating magic. She reached into her pocket and pulled out the tiny wooden armchair she had found. "I think this belongs in one of your houses," she said, smiling. Mr. Pendelton smiled back, a genuine, warm smile. "Ah, the armchair from the library set. I was looking for that. Thank you." Elara helped him close the back door. The next day, Mr. Pendelton hired someone to fix the hedge. Soon, the house was hidden again. To the rest of the street, it was just the messy, quiet house with the strange neighbor. But Elara knew the truth. Sometimes, when she heard the soft tap-tap-tap late at night, she smiled. She knew that just on the other side of the wall, a tiny magical world was being built, piece by piece, by the quiet man behind the hedge.